Well, I don't think you can talk about the transfer portal without talking about NIL.
Yep.
Agree.
Now, if they would have had that when I was playing, I would have made hundreds of dollars in NIL money.
One of the games that I'll never forget from my childhood is the game against Waterloo East.
Yeah, so I'm a drug dealer, and I'm a kind of a slumlord, and I'm a loan shark.
If you would have said, "Hey, we were up 38% in the NASDAQ," I said, "No way."
I mean, I thought I was going to go from Fort Dodge to Iowa to the NBA. And that lasted till about the third day of practice. And then I thought,
there's really good guys out here.
that guy's a lot better than I am. And there's 5 of them on this team. And then there's, all these. Yeah, I better get to class tomorrow.
Welcome to How to Money with Kole and Cole.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Cole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation on investing, retirement, and everything in between.
At Full Swing Financial Planning, we're here to empower you to take control of your plan, your way, for your financial future.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Kole and Cole, my Full Swing Financial boys. Welcome.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Well, I am not the best basketball player in the room today because we have a special guest.
You're third best, yeah.
Cole, let's not bring up who beat you in one-on-one again.
I'll take the rear on this. That's okay. I'll take one for the team.
Lookingbill, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be back in Fort Dodge, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, Fort Dodge legend, Mr.
Yeah.
Basketball. Go ahead.
One of my childhood heroes.
Really?
Wade was. So I was 10 years old when you won the state title, or 8 years old, I guess.
Cole, I thought you were older than that.
Come on now.
We always age.
Always
Cole.
teasing me. I'm not the oldest person in the room.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Hey,
ouch. There we go.
Yeah.
That'd be me. That'd be me.
Yeah. So Wade won the state title in 1988. Mr. Basketball.
Yeah, Fort Dodge native, correct?
Long time ago. Yeah, I moved here when I was 9 years old. Went to Cooper Elementary, North Junior High, now Phillips, now an apartment, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
And Fort Dodge Senior High, 1988.
And Mr. Basketball.
Mr. Basketball.
State
Yeah.
champ. You won your senior year.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was we went to state all 4 years when I was in high school, and let's see, my freshman year we got third, sophomore and junior year we got beat in the first round of state, and then my senior year everything kind of came together. We had Jay Goodman move in, his father was our coach, and the Goodman family is Fort Dodge royalty, and everything came together. We had a great year. It was a lot of fun.
And then you were recruited to Iowa Hawkeye.
Yeah, yep. I ended up playing basketball at Iowa for 4 years. I played 2 years, had a back injury, and played 2 more. So I kind of spanned, the late 80s, early 90s. So a lot of really good players came through the Big Ten during that era. And
Did you redshirt your junior year?
I
then?
did. I had a
Okay.
back injury. Yep,
Okay.
yep. So I played 2, sat 1, and played 2 more.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of good players in the Big
Michigan
Ten at that
Fab
time.
5 you got to play against too, didn't you?
Chris Webber, Jalen
So
Rose,
cool.
That's
John
awesome.
Howard. Yep, good players, really good players. And Calbert Cheney was unbelievable. Stevie Smith at Michigan State, and then we played North Carolina twice, played Duke twice. Those were kind of the big non-conference games. So just
other
really,
than me
really,
in the alumni game,
Oh my
who was
God.
the best player that you ever played against? Do you
Good
think?
question. Good question.
there's 2 that always come to mind. Grant Hill was unbelievable, and some of the people in the room are quite young. They don't know who Grant Hill is.
I know who
or
Grant
was,
Hill is.
but
Our
if he-
21-year-older.
if he would not have gotten injured, he would have been one of the best ever. He wasn't quite Kobe and Jordan, but he wasn't that far off. And he was athletic, and he was a good guy, and he could guard. But he had some injuries.
He was a hard worker, too.
Yeah, for sure. Grant Hill, and then Stevie Smith played at Michigan State, played in the NBA forever, and still does some TV stuff. Again, he was a freshman or sophomore when I was playing, so whole generation. But again, so Stevie Smith was one of the first big guards, 6'7", could handle it, could shoot it. Just was a really talented player, and now they're all over the place. But those 2 guys were matchup nightmares.
Yeah.
And Christian Laettner was pretty good. Chris
Oh, yeah.
Webber.
Chris Laettner.
Chris
I mean,
Webber.
a lot
I
of
would just
names.
like to play against the Fab 5.
Chris
Yeah.
Webber was the only guy little I played against that I thought that guy's different. I mean, just the physicalness of him and the size of his hands.
His
and
attitude, probably.
human beings should not be that big and be able to run and jump like that.
and I'm
it just
sitting
was-
next to you, and you're so low.
Well, but it just is, unless you're around those guys, and Cole, you probably saw it in football, there's just guys where you look at them and that guy's different. And yeah.
Do you think that about Audi Crooks when you see her play?
She's a star.
Because
she's a star.
I mean, but just like her hands.
She's huge.
are
In the best
so
way
big.
possible.
They go around the ball almost half the way. And I'm
Well-
just like, she's not that tall. I mean, she's tall for a
Yeah,
woman, but she's not 7
The
foot.
thing with Audi too, and you saw her last night when she played really well. Her feet, she has really good feet and
Great feet work.
soft hands, and she passes the ball well. Hit some threes last night, and I'm gonna claim Audi as a Fort Dodge girl. You know, her father Jimmy was a teammate of mine in high school.
Cool.
You know, died way too young, and the Crooks family is very prominent in Fort Dodge.
So
Barb,
athletic.
you know, I don't know if you knew
Yep.
Barb, but Joe died way too young, but. Jimmy and Johnny were kind of guys I played with growing up, and Audie's a great player. Unbelievable.
I was highly impressed with her last night. It'll be more exciting when she can play a little longer run
Yeah,
because right
yeah.
now she's only playing 2 or 3 minutes at a time. But just because she's not used to the pace, but when her size, she's incredible.
Something with college basketball
Yeah.
too is I like to bring up too. As you're a freshman, you forget the court's 10 feet long,
Mm-hmm.
so it goes from 84 to 94, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're going up and down, time after time after time, especially when you're a bigger player, it catches up to you. And
Well,
I
and
think
if you're
you
playing
have to
against-
kind of adjust.
Sorry, I interrupted
Yeah,
you.
no, yeah.
I was
But
going to
yeah,
say, when you're playing against Caitlin Clark, too.
you're chasing. You're chasing.
That's a different animal in itself, and
Yeah.
that was the game that you're referencing last night was the Iowa State women game, and it was like we taped it. My family's all sitting in the living room watching it. It's transcendent to watch
great
these players.
for women's basketball. Bailey, you can
Sold
attest to
out
that.
at Hilton.
And it's great for the state. You know, last night was the women. Tonight, as we're taping this, is the men's game, and it just is really cool to see that, especially, you know, Audi Crooks, Iowa, Caitlin Clark, Iowa, Taman Lipsey, who's a star sophomore point guard for Iowa State, leads them in scoring, rebounding, assists, and steals.
Holy cow!
He's from Ames, Iowa. You know, Iowa's one of their best players is Peyton Sanford, Iowa kid. So it's not just role players. You got really good players from the state, and Caitlin Clark brings that to a whole nother level.
She has an effect.
She's
3,000 points.
Clarkonomics.
Yeah,
I heard somebody quote
yeah.
that.
That's
and
awesome.
It's so true. It's so true.
Me and my husband were talking about it last night. I was like, oh, I wish I would have went to the game. It would have been so great. And I was looking at tickets, like just normal good seats were like 300 plus, 250.
Yeah.
And they started going down. I'm like, you would have never a regular season game before Clark. Tickets were not that much
Yeah,
money. Like
yeah.
that effect alone.
It's been great. It's been great. And
There's what's the head coaches for the women's for Iowa State? What's his name?
Bill Finley.
Yeah, Finley. So he's got in his office, I believe, a picture of his first game ever at Hilton, and there's like 300 people in the stands.
I've heard that story.
Yeah, it's like there's like
Yeah.
300. I think they sold 309 tickets.
Yeah, literally.
It was his first game ever, and it's in his office. And I was listening to something and heard.
He's the best coach in the state, men's
He's
or women.
amazing.
Unbelievable. You just brought that program up and back, and they lost so many girls or young women in the transfer portal this last year, and but he's got a really good freshman class. So
What
they'll
do
be
you
back.
think of a transfer portal? What do you think of all that?
Well, I don't think you can talk about the transfer portal without talking about NIL.
Yep.
Agree.
Now, if they would have had that when I was playing, I would have made hundreds of dollars in NIL money. Hundreds.
You'd have to get on the gram, the
hundreds.
social media we were
I
talking
don't
about
know.
earlier.
Yeah. You know, I think it's something where, as a player, especially on the women's side, you know, or let's just say with the men, you know, so Hunter Dickinson, you know, one of the best college players on the men's side, played for Michigan for 3 or 4 years, went to Kansas. And I think it's pretty well out there, common knowledge, that he received $2.1 million to play at Kansas this year. So, but the thing with Hunter Dickinson is he may never score a basket in the NBA. So, really good player, but the way he plays just does not transition to basketball. Now, Keegan Murray was the 4th pick in the draft, and he'll make $9.5 million this year, and he's going to sign a contract probably for $200 or $250 million. So it's different for guys like that they don't have to worry about NIL because they're going to do really well. But as a college player, whether you're a man or a woman, you should try to get all you can get when you're in college. Now, I'm not for going from school to school to school. I think it's more in football. You see the quarterbacks that are just
multiple starting quarterbacks transfer. Ohio State's quarterback.
DJ Agundale, the Clemson kid, went to Oregon
crazy.
State. Now he's going to Florida State. But I think it's not great for the game, but it's great for the kids. And how many for Iowa, if you use the example, how many number 55 Luka Garza jerseys got sold when he was at Iowa? And how much did he make from that?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, I was
Zero.
just going to say
So,
he missed out on it because he's not going to have the 4th pick in the draft money ever.
Right.
I mean, he could be a role player in the NBA.
yeah, and he's up and
doing
down.
fine.
He's making he's making really good money. Now, also on the flip side, if Luka Garza, say he's a senior at Iowa last year or junior, he probably doesn't stay at Iowa. He probably gets $2.2 million to go somewhere else. And
That's life-changing money.
Again, for a kid like that, you have to take it because you never know what's going to happen.
I just saw there was a football team. The whole team got trucks. I can't think of what
Utah.
Utah, yeah.
What?
Everyone got a pickup. Every,
And I think we were talking about this prior, and this is where you're going with it, especially women too. Like Caitlin Clark, for example, WNBA players, their salary bare minimum compared to, which I get, where we don't need to go in that, but she's never going to make more money than she is right now.
Yeah.
And she's just changing.
She'll almost be less marketable, less recognizable as a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be crazy.
I think so, for sure.
Strange times.
One of the games that I'll never forget from my childhood is the game against Waterloo East. And I'm sure you remember that game. Do you remember that?
Sure.
I remember the sophomore game, I think, started at 5:30. And I believe me and my father and my other siblings showed up at 4:30 just to get a seat. And by 5:30, there were no seats in Dodger Gym. There were people standing.
People away.
They turned people
said
away.
The fire marshal, yeah.
Yeah. And Waterloo East won the state title the year before, or
so you're close. So
okay.
So they had beaten us there. So
that's
we
right.
played them
in like double overtime or something like that. No, just say it was. Just say it was.
Let him tell the story.
There was almost a overtime, but the story was, so we were undefeated and they were undefeated, 1 versus 2. We went down there to play, and it's hard to imagine now with the way high school games are, but 4 8-minute quarters, no shot clock back then, and we got beat 96-94 in regulation. Wow! And it was just a crazy game. Back and forth.
Any defense.
Wasn't there
I don't know if it was that, but
I'm just kidding.
they
like
were
a bunch of technicals and
so
were they
towards
still
the
chippy?
end,
Because
so towards the end, there was a couple bad calls, and there was kind of a mini riot after the game where our head coach Tom Goodman got grabbed by one of the police officers, and I don't think they knew who he was. And then one of our players, a good friend of mine, Scott Wormsey, grabbed the police officer and threw him off coach. So now you got potential assault and a police officer. So we're in the locker room and people are pounding on the door, and it just was part of that season. That was our only loss that year. So then so what Cole's talking about then is 2-3 weeks later is the rematch in Dodger Fieldhouse, and it was really cool, and just a lot of fun for me to be part of that. Just for Dodge kid playing with your friends that you played with at Dodger courts from the time you can ride your bike or drive down there. Just it was pretty special.
I'm pretty sure you guys smoked them, didn't you?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah,
the game wasn't that close. We won that one pretty easily.
So how'd you start playing basketball? When did you know this was like a real thing? I'm going to be successful. This could be a long term.
So when I grew up, before I moved to Fort Dodge, I lived in Renwick, Iowa. So small town, and the Elks hoop shoot, the Elks free throw contest. I was the state free throw champion when I was 8 years old. Now at that time, you shot from like 12 feet. They kind of moved you in, but it just was fun. I just liked the idea of practicing. I'm kind of I enjoy being by myself, that type of thing, so I could go out my backyard and shoot baskets and not have to get, if it's football, somebody to throw the ball to. You could just go on your own. Whenever you had a minute, you go outside and shoot. And, being tall and you have some success with it, you kind of enjoy it even maybe a little more. And then when I moved to Fort Dodge, I was exposed to better players, played with and against better players, probably better coaching. Moved here when I was 9 in 4th grade. And then it just kind of, we had really good teams. And I think I still hold the record. I think I still hold the record for the only big school kid ever to score in 4 state tournaments. Happens in small school a lot, but I scored as a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
Yeah, that's
cool.
tough.
Yeah, so I think
even
so.
Get to state.
Yeah, for sure. But it just, again, I think had some success. It came easy to me, but I also enjoyed it, and worked out okay.
And then became Mr. Basketball.
Yeah, and then that's really nice. It's more of a team thing. Like if we would have lost and not gotten in the state tournament, somebody else would have won it. And I played well at state, and that helped. And I had some exposure being down there previous years. Yeah.
So what was your recruiting process like? Was it Iowa? I want to go to Iowa, or because I don't know your story.
Sure. No. So and I'll talk a little bit about this, maybe down the road, but no. So I went to Iowa on a visit in the fall of 1987. That sounds like a long time ago.
I wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Probably not. But had me down on a visit. And then it's funny because so when I was down there the same weekend, they had LaFonso Ellis, who played in the NBA, a kid named Tim Breaux, who I think went to Wyoming, played for the Rockets for a while, and then a guy named Sean Kemp. Now, Sean was the number one recruit in the country, and if you want to see some highlights, Google Sean Kemp when he was with the Supersonics. Just unbelievable, physically just gifted. So I didn't get a lot of attention, but they didn't offer me a scholarship. But they said, hey, we want to watch you play this year, and that was okay. But meanwhile, I had an offer from Drake, offer from UNI, visited UNI. Nick Nurse hosted me on my visit. Nick has won a title with the Raptors, and his story is unbelievable. He was a coach and player in Iceland, and now he's with the Philadelphia 76ers, guy from Carroll, Iowa, and then got offered from Drake. But Iowa kept calling, and a kid ended up transferring that spring, left Iowa, and opened up a scholarship, and they offered it to me. So
awesome.
Yeah, it worked out good. I was very fortunate.
One other game that I want you to comment on is the state championship game, because if you haven't seen the game or heard about the game, it's not like you guys dominated the game.
Yeah, Bailey and I were talking about that. Yeah. We were down 8, I think, going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Didn't you score something crazy like 25 points? Not you personally, but the team scored like 25 points in the fourth quarter. I
think at least that, because we had some guys get hot, and it was looking back. There was a lot of intrigue to the game. So we played Cedar Rapids Kennedy, and their coach at the time was a guy named Arnie Zedeker. And again, this is 1988, so a long time ago. But Arnie Zedeker had been the coach at Fort Dodge from like 81 to 83. So it wasn't that long ago, and now he's at Kennedy, and now he's facing Fort Dodge in the finals. Yeah, and we were down, I think, 8 going the fourth quarter, and he probably should have slowed it down a little bit. Again, this is pre-shot clock and that type of thing. But we got hot, and then once I think when those games like that, when you're ahead, maybe you slow it down a little bit or get a little conservative, and then once we got the lead, then we just kind of rolled from there.
Fun.
Yeah.
It makes me want to play. You're just talking about basketball. I'm like, oh. So you're so let's go back. So you're Mr. Basketball, state, awesome. Cole's giddy over here like I get giddy about Caitlin Clark. So Iowa Hawkeyes, talk us about your career there.
Yeah.
And I think you have a pretty cool story too.
Yeah. So I was really fortunate to be able to play there. Played with and against a lot of really good players. The Big Ten was loaded at late 80s, early 90s. We were talking about the Fab Five with Chris Webber and Juwan Howard and Jalen Rose, and Indiana had Calbert Chaney and Eric Anderson, and we played at Duke, played at Carolina.
But I want to bring this up real quick. What was the hardest place to play at?
Yeah, so we were again with the Iowa State Iowa game. So I played at Duke, played at Carolina, played all the Big Ten schools, of course, but the loudest arena I was ever in, and it's not even close, was Hilton Coliseum.
Isn't that cool?
Were the Cyclones decent at that?
They're pretty good. They're pretty good. Yeah, for sure.
That's Fred Hoiberg area, right?
So Fred's 2 years younger than me, so I played against Fred twice.
Oh, cool.
Fred was unbelievable. I mean,
see how giddy she got when you said you brought up Fred Hoiberg.
Fred was a star.
Did his shooting?
Fred was a star. Could have played in the NFL. I mean, he was an athlete, just run and jump.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he was a good player.
I'm talking like I know.
Fred's a really good guy.
Yeah,
I know Fred a little bit. Yeah. Really good guy. They had a tough one last night though. Minnesota just gave that away. But so played at Iowa and just was really fortunate. I mean, I've been to Europe twice, been to Russia through basketball, Hawaii a couple times, played in the San Juan Shootout. Things that a kid that grew up in Knowcrest on 17th Avenue North shouldn't really have to do or get to do. And I was not a great player. I mean,
gosh,
stop it.
All the players are so must. I was Mr. Basketball. I wasn't that good.
No, I was a great college. I was a great high school player. I was not a great college player. Is what I'm getting at.
It's all relative, right? To people around you.
But I played in every game. My career at Iowa that I was eligible to play in. I think I started maybe 30 games. I do joke though that the only individual honor I ever had was I finished second my senior year in the Big Ten in free throw shooting. So if I didn't have to dribble or jump or move or no one was guarding me, I was unbelievable.
It's
I was
that shooting by yourself, right?
Yeah,
Shooting by yourself.
yeah. So it's just something where I always say, like, every athlete, and Bailey and Cole, every athlete and Cole
Wait,
Peterson
which
too.
Cole were you talking about?
Golf's a
both
sport,
Coles,
guys.
both Coles. There comes a point where you're just not good enough. And some people, it's elementary, junior high, high school, college, and then that next level. I mean, I thought I was going to go from Fort Dodge to Iowa to the NBA. And that lasted till about the third day of practice. And then I thought,
there's really good guys out here.
that guy's a lot better than I am. And there's 5 of them on this team. And then there's, all these. Yeah, I better get to class tomorrow. But yeah, it was.
I had a
really
couple of those moments too.
It was just a really great
Is that
experience.
why you tried
where
to
you
go to the NFL?
yeah, where you just kind of think, hey, it's just I can't make a living doing this. But and we were talking about this, Bailey, that I think athletics, whether it's listening to a coach or having teammates, really helps you grow in your business choices, whatever you want to do in life.
I was just going to say that because, and if you've been on a college team, this, the best player and I'm not going to say worst player, but everyone is so important because you really rely on that team and those skills you learn playing sports and the attributes, teamwork, leadership, knowing your role. That's a hard thing once you're like the stud in high school and then you go to college, you're like, dang, I'm not the best player on the team.
I averaged 8 points and 4 rebounds my senior year. And, but I was a big part of the team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everyone's a big
not everybody
part.
can shoot. Not everybody can score. Yeah, it's just it's a unique.
You're really
scenario.
a family and a team.
Yeah, and again, whether that's junior high, high school, or college, or even in the NBA, you just there's guys that are better and they need a bigger piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
We need this message to be spread more, because it's important.
And even your office, there's role. Everyone has a role, and there's going to be the top, the middle, and I'm not saying, but you can't do anything without one person. We all function together. Let's do a little dollars and cents.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Wade likes the coin drop.
Never gets old.
Those aren't dollar bills though.
Wade, you don't know
Pennies
this.
and nickels.
We have not if you're Kate and Clark. We have a nerd in the room, and his name's Cole Jeske.
Yeah. So, getting away from the basketball talk for a minute, we are a financial podcast. We claim to be. I would say we're more an entrepreneurship and leadership podcast.
And we love sports.
But I was reading this morning. I thought it was interesting, maybe interesting to, my boring brain, as Bailey would say. But this is the widest gap between so I looked up the year-to-date returns in the overall stock market. So 3 indexes, the NASDAQ, S&P 500, and Dow. So between the S&P 500 and Dow, it's the widest gap of returns, year-to-date returns, since 2000. And by what I mean by that is the S&P's up almost 20%. The Dow's up 9% year-to-date. That 10 to almost 11% is the widest it's been since 2000. So quite interesting. And this is we talked about this. You go listen to prior podcasts where previous year the Dow actually outpaced the S&P quite a bit, and it was just that change in the growth versus value. So
it's a good thing, to explain how diversification works.
Yeah.
And you want to keep your portfolio diversified for these exact reasons, because nobody knows when real estate is going to be the hot thing, when value stocks, so you want to stay diversified so you get an overall return of all the different markets. And the thing about the S&P 500 and the Dow, and we've explained what those indexes are on previous episodes, so we won't go into that, but they're all comprised of different things. I mean, so they're just because you're in the NASDAQ, you're not in the S&P, but you're not in the Dow, but you might be in all three. Some of the companies are in all three.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I think when I looked at the numbers, I actually didn't know. I was curious. We look at numbers all day, but then the NASDAQ's up 38% year to date, 38.01 as of close yesterday. And that's one of those things you think of, like the fear of
that was scare tactics.
Yeah, the time in the market versus time in the market, right? I always say that to clients. And you look at the beginning of this year, if you would have said, "Hey, we're up 38% in the NASDAQ," I said, "No way," no way. And some of it, yes, it's a little top heavy with some companies.
I remember
right now.
we were doing a couple of annuities, and I was putting a bunch of money in the NASDAQ. And Bailey's like, "Why do you like the NASDAQ so much?" I was like, "Because it's down so much. It can't go any farther down. It's got to go back up."
I
but
know. You were giddy.
overall, I mean, I think all those indexes, if you looked at 2-year return, they'd probably be obviously a lot closer because the NASDAQ lost so much last year compared to the Dow, and now they're. But yeah, that's crazy. We've had 2 years like that in a row where the spread is very wide on who's making what as far as the different indexes.
And historically, it's not, it's probably a couple percentage points of a gap each year. So, you're talking 4 or 5 times bigger of a gap than normal.
So don't go for the scare tactics.
Yep. All right, so let's Wade. We've heard all about the basketball stories. You got Cole all giddy over here, hearing about when he was a kid watching you play at Fort Dodge. But let's talk about your business life a little bit.
Yeah.
I know you transitioned, entrepreneurship, and you've had multiple different businesses and experiences.
Yeah. So my first couple of years when I got out of college, I was an insurance agent. I sold insurance and financial planning, mostly life insurance and property and casualty. And then not too long after that, I transitioned into being a pharmaceutical rep. And I currently work for a company that our company makes, and we help promote a product for breast cancer. So I call on cancer centers throughout Iowa, Nebraska, and Central Illinois and try to convince them to use our product. So sales rep. But about 14, 15 years ago, I got into real estate, and we had some duplexes. We had a 18-unit apartment complex in Story City, and that was fine. It just I was not a very good landlord. Didn't enjoy it. And got some horror stories like all landlords do. But during this time also, we started loaning money to house flippers. So we provide short-term loans, hard money loans. It has a lot of different names, but that's kind of what we transitioned to. The last few years, we sold off all the rental properties, and now we're just kind of focusing on the short-term loans, and it's been really good. Now, it's been the greatest housing market we've ever seen, so it's been really easy for guys to buy a house, put a little bit of money into it, sell it, or rent it out, and pay us back. But we deal mostly in the Des Moines market, and it's been good. It's been fun.
Have you been burned much on the hard money side?
Zero times,
No?
never,
Oh,
not one
really?
time.
That's
Not one
crazy.
time.
That's crazy that
Yeah.
0 times has happened.
Yeah.
And then you also started a lawn care business, a little lawn care business with your
so
son,
our
Will.
my son he's a senior at Waukee Northwest, and a couple years ago, you're 14, 15, and besides Hy-Vee, there's really no places to work. And he's a soccer player, so he's kind of busy, with practice and different things. So he started mowing lawns, and it kind of grew. And I think last summer we had maybe 18 yards that we mowed on a regular basis, a couple apartment complexes. So we got a 0-turn mower and a trailer, and
Teaching him hard work.
Yeah, it's fun. And sometimes he'll do them himself. Sometimes, I'll do them and then with the house flippers, they needed lawn care also. So it kind of transitioned into that. So it's been fun.
So you're consider yourself an entrepreneur. You do sales, you got a lot of gigs. How has sports translated over to that? Like, what do you think you've taken from that and been successful in the real world? Because I think that's hard for people who identify as a basketball player for so long, or an athlete or whatever sport, and then all of a sudden you're in the real world.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm really an entrepreneur, so to speak. We got a lot of side hustles.
I'd call that an entrepreneur.
I do some TV work on the radio a little bit. And
What's your favorite thing? Yeah, maybe after you answer Bailey's.
Answer both.
It's which one do I enjoy the most?
Yeah,
the hard money loans.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I really like it. I really like it. But yeah, so to answer your question, Bailey, I think it's just that, and I'll talk about maybe I think it's part of being from Fort Dodge too. Is it that work ethic, a little bit of blue collar toughness, kinda. I think it's different than what you see. Like, we live in Urbandale, our kids go to school in Waukee. It's just it's different. I think it's a good thing to have, and I think in any business, whether it's financial planning, real estate, lawn care, hard money loans, you got to be tough. Because if you're not, I think people sometimes pick up on that and they sense that. And you got to be fair to people for sure, but you also got to not take any crap from people. And I think
you probably got used to that rebounding with the big guys. You can't take crap or they're not going to let you
rebound. Well,
I
mean, it's just blood in the water a little bit. But I think being part of that team, hard work, one common goal, I think that all carries over.
So do you pay your kid, or do you guys split? How does the business relationship with your
that's
child?
That's a good question. So he has some lawns that are his, and then I have some that are mine. But it does seem like I end up doing his for free or helping him for free. And then when he helps me, I have to pay him. So
That's part of being a
He's
dad.
the,
right?
I see.
we gotta
He's
figure
the
something out.
entrepreneur.
Yeah,
He's
kinda.
figuring out.
I'm the sucker. No, it's fun, and it's just something we can do together, and
Teach him a good lesson.
Well,
I mean,
it just was something. We needed the lawnmower for a house. We've kind of a bigger backyard or just a big yard, so we needed the mower. My wife's family farms up in Tama, Marshall County, and they had a trailer they weren't using, so 2 new tires, and it just it's been fun. It's been fun.
So you're not an entrepreneur, but you kind of do a little of everything. Which
Side hustles.
So
Yep.
you do TV
Yep.
and the games. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm a drug dealer, and I'm a kind of a slumlord, and I'm a loan shark. It's kind of what I do. I sell product for breast cancer. I used
There
to
should
have
be your
rentals.
LinkedIn titles.
Yeah, that'd probably draw more attention to it. Yeah. So, and I also do some TV work. So it's about 20 or 25 years ago, Mediacom, the local cable company based out of Des Moines, started a local or high school game of the week. And so they asked me if I wanted to do the color commentary, and it's been fun. And how it works is we do about 12 games a year. So we'll do on a Friday night, we'll be at Hawkeyes is playing at Valley. So we do the girls game. Laura Leonard, who played at Drake, she does the color for the girls game. Then I do the color for the boys game. So we're there live doing the game, but it's live to tape. So we're there doing the game live, and then we tape it, and then Mediacom will show it, at 9 a.m. on Saturday, at 2 o'clock on Saturday, a couple times on Sunday, and then we'll have a game on Tuesday. And the same thing will happen again, live to tape, and we do that for about 6 straight weeks throughout January into early February.
I love it.
It's fun.
Because here's what people forget too, the high school, like now it's so much more intriguing. No, I shouldn't say intriguing, but to be an athlete, if you're a high schooler and you're seeing some success, you're like, oh, I could go to college and make some money. Like prior, you couldn't, you know what I mean? You're like, I want to play. But now it's like kind of going into a business. You're like, if you're a good high school player, you can be like, okay, if I go to college, I can make some money.
Girls
exposure.
girls basketball in the state of Iowa is unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
Johnston's got girls that can really play. Dowling's got some good players. I mean,
They're stacked.
it's something where
Johnson's been good for a few years.
yeah, for sure.
Coach
But
Gillies good.
yeah, Chad does a good job.
I found something that you said interesting. Is like, I'm not an entrepreneur, and then we're naming all these businesses.
but
that's usually what a
so
successful entrepreneur. They don't see themselves as an entrepreneur. They just I want to make a little side money, so I do this. I mean, that's kind of like what Cole does as far as your rentals and everything like that. He's a financial advisor, but he has 4 other jobs probably.
Smart was like, what's wrong with you? He's like, I just got other stuff in my
Yeah.
got a lot of things going on at times. So
Yeah. But that's what makes people successful, I think, is you don't see that as I'm an entrepreneur, is like, hey, that's something that I'm going to do to make a little extra money, and that that's going to be a priority C or D or whatever it is. But I think that's what makes you successful, because you don't see that as
I'm really grateful for my job, my W-2 income. But I like that, but I really love the loans, or I really love doing the basketball games, or I really love mowing the yards, as silly as that sounds. But it's all kind of part of that process. And when you get to be my age, I'm a little bit older than everyone in the room, you start thinking about plan B and what you're going to do, and that type of thing, and just that flexibility. And one of the podcasts I listened to, the guy uses the term job optional. And I really like that, or work optional. And it just kind of, if you can get to that point, if you like what you're doing, keep doing it. And if not, you go mow yards.
You don't have to. You get
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing about sports too, and it just teaches you to evolve as a person and grow. You're never boxed into one thing. Yes, like your experiences meeting and traveling and all those people and all those connections and just being comfortable trying new things. Like it really all correlates to in my brain, sports and
no question,
entrepreneurship.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're excited we had you.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
You.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Do you think Cole Peterson could score on you today?
Right now, today?
Yeah. Look at him.
Do you still play? Do you still play some basketball?
No, I play forever. I think his wife Molly. I have a problem with Molly. Molly's the player. So Molly is my actual cousin. Cole is my cousin. Molly's my second cousin, but Cole is my cousin by marriage. But
maybe my son Joseph might have a better chance. He'd be able to keep up with you at least. He's probably
Thanksgiving.
Probably in shape.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate having you so much.
Yeah, thank you so
Sharing
much.
your story
I really enjoyed it.
Fort Dodge native and Iowa
Dodge in the
Hawkeyes.
house.
Go Hawks.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
From Charles Barkley, if you can't slam with the best, then jam with the rest.
Go Cubs.
You've been listening to How to Money with Kole and Cole, the podcast of Full Swing Financial Planning. To learn more, visit their website at www.fullswingfinancial.com and follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn.
For now, I'm Cole,
I'm Bailey.
And I'm Cole.
and we'll see you on the greens.
4. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.